The planet was silent, covered in thick layers of dark stone and dust that stretched as far as the eye could see. No plants grew here, no rivers flowed, and no living creature made a sound. It was a world that seemed forgotten by time, a place where even the wind carried an emptiness that unsettled the heart. A research team had landed on this strange planet after their long journey through the outer rim of the galaxy. Their mission was simple. They were searching for signals of old civilizations, anything that could show that life once existed beyond the Great Void. The team was mixed, with members from different species working together. Yet among them, only one was human. His name was Arun. Arun stood outside the ship and looked at the landscape. The ground was uneven, filled with cracks like scars. Shadows stretched across the valley, and the air felt heavier than usual, though still safe enough to breathe. He tightened his jacket and stepped forward, his boots pressing against the black stone. Something about this place pulled at him. It was not just curiosity. It was as if the land itself was calling out to him in silence. The leader of the team, a tall alien with smooth silver skin named Raul, adjusted his scanner. The device blinked with strange readings. "The energy here is unusual," Raul said in his calm tone. "There is a source beneath the surface, far stronger than anything natural. We must investigate." Others gathered around. Some were nervous, some excited. They had traveled across many worlds, but this signal was unlike any they had seen. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat buried under stone. The team began to set up their equipment, using advanced drills and sensors to scan the ground. Arun walked a little away from the group. His eyes caught something on the surface. Strange patterns were carved faintly into the black stone. They were almost invisible, as if worn down by countless years. He ran his hand over the carvings, feeling the shallow lines. They were not random marks. They were symbols. He called the others over. Raul examined them and frowned. "Unknown language. It does not match any record in our archives." The other aliens tried to translate, but their devices gave no answer. Arun, however, felt something different. The shapes reminded him of drawings he had seen in old history books back on Earth. They looked like patterns humans once made on cave walls, long before cities and machines. "Maybe it means something," Arun said softly. He could not explain why, but he felt connected to the carvings. The team continued scanning, and soon they found what they were looking for. Beneath the surface lay a massive structure, larger than their ship. It was perfectly sealed, made of the same black stone but much denser. No natural force could have created it. It was not a mountain, not a rock, but a tomb. The crew grew excited. "We must open it," one of them said. "There could be knowledge or treasures inside. Perhaps even answers about who built it." Raul raised a hand to calm them. "We must act with caution. If it has remained sealed for so long, there is a reason. But still, our duty is to explore." They brought out heavy equipment and began to cut through the stone. Sparks flew, and energy beams glowed against the dark surface. Yet nothing worked. The black stone resisted every tool, every weapon, every attempt. The crew grew frustrated as hours passed with no progress. "This is impossible," one alien said, shaking his head. "Not even plasma drills leave a mark." Raul's calm eyes turned toward Arun. "You were the first to notice the symbols. Perhaps there is more you can see. Walk along the surface. Look carefully." Arun obeyed. He moved slowly, his hands tracing the carvings. The patterns stretched across a wide circle, forming a design too large to notice at first glance. As he walked the line, a thought grew in his mind. It was not random. It was a lock. He placed his hand at the center of one carving. The stone felt warm, as if alive. The others watched, puzzled. Then the ground shook faintly beneath their feet. "What did you do?" someone shouted. Arun stepped back, but the carvings began to glow faintly with pale light. The black stone shifted with a deep rumble, opening slowly as if it had been waiting for this moment. A massive crack spread across the surface, revealing a narrow passage leading downward into complete darkness. The crew froze in silence. None of their machines had been able to move even a grain of the stone, yet it had opened with the touch of a single human. Rahl stared at Arun with a mix of respect and unease. "It responds to you," he said. "Only you." The others whispered among themselves. Some were afraid. Others were filled with wonder. How could a human, a species still young in the stars, open something that even advanced tools could not break? Arun himself felt no answer. He only felt the pull again, stronger this time. The tomb had recognized him. The entrance yawned before them like the mouth of a giant beast. Cold air drifted upward, carrying with it the scent of stone that had not been touched for countless ages. Darkness waited below, thick and endless. Rahl broke the silence. "We came here to explore. Now the way is open. We must decide whether to enter." Some hesitated, but the curiosity of explorers is stronger than fear. Equipment was prepared. Lights were checked. The team stood at the edge of the passage. Arun took the first step forward. The shadows seemed to welcome him, as if they had been waiting all along. The others followed, their lights piercing the black void, yet the darkness swallowed most of the glow. Behind them, the surface sealed again, closing the path to the outside world. The explorers were now locked within the tomb, stepping into a place that had been sealed in darkness for ages. For the first time, Arun wondered if the tomb had allowed them in not because of curiosity, but because it needed something from him. He did not speak his thoughts aloud, but in his heart, he knew this was only the beginning. The passage stretched downward like the throat of a giant creature. The air was cold and heavy, and the walls were smooth, cut with purpose long ago. Their lights flickered against the dark stone, but the shadows seemed endless. The explorers moved slowly, every sound echoing back at them in strange whispers. Arun led the way without meaning to. The others followed close behind, but it was clear the tomb responded to him more than to anyone else. Where his light touched, the carvings on the walls glowed faintly, as if they recognized him. When the others passed the same spot, the glow faded. "This is not normal," one alien whispered. His long fingers tightened around his scanning device. "It reacts to him alone." Rahl raised a hand to silence the whispers. His silver skin reflected the dim light. "Stay focused. We do not yet understand this place. Curiosity is valuable, but discipline will keep us alive." They continued deeper until the path opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling rose so high that their lights could not reach it. Strange shapes hung above, like roots turned to stone, frozen in place for ages. On the floor lay wide tiles, each carved with symbols. Arun stepped onto one of the tiles, and the ground trembled faintly. A faint circle of light spread outward from where he stood. The others gasped, but nothing dangerous followed. The glow faded after a moment, leaving only silence. "What is this place?" Arun asked quietly. Rahl scanned the room but frowned. "My device cannot read beyond the surface. It is as if the stone hides what lies within. Yet the energy is stronger here." The crew spread out, exploring the chamber with care. They touched the walls, studied the carvings, and searched for hidden doors. But only Arun's movements stirred any reaction. When he brushed his hand across a wall, lines of light crawled outward like veins. When he stepped forward, the tiles awakened beneath his feet. "It is him," one alien said nervously. "The tomb belongs to him. We should leave before it consumes us." Rahl shook his head firmly. "We came here for discovery, not fear. If this place answers to the human, then he is our key. We follow where it leads." Arun tried to hide his unease. He did not want to be the center of attention, but the tomb made its choice clear. It called to him, and he could not resist. At the far side of the chamber stood a massive wall. In its center rested a door of pure black stone, more polished than the rest. Strange circles and lines covered its surface, forming a complex pattern. It was a seal, locked tighter than anything they had ever seen. The team tried everything. They used scanners, energy beams, and sound waves. None worked. The door stood untouched, as if mocking their efforts. "It cannot be broken," one alien said with frustration. "This stone does not respond to force. It defies reason." Arun studied the patterns carefully. They reminded him of something, though he could not place it. The circles connected in ways that seemed familiar, like constellations he once saw as a child in the night sky of Earth. He stepped closer, tracing one of the lines with his finger. The moment his skin touched the surface, the pattern lit up. The lines glowed with soft light, spreading outward across the door. A low hum filled the chamber, deep and powerful, shaking the floor beneath them. The crew stepped back in alarm. Raul stayed calm, though his eyes narrowed. "Only you can open it. Finish what you have started." Arun hesitated. His heart pounded, and doubt filled his mind. What if the tomb was a trap? What if opening it released something they could not control? But the pull inside him grew stronger. He felt as if his whole life had been leading to this moment. He pressed his hands against the door. The glow spread faster, circling the patterns until the entire seal shone like a star. The sound grew louder, echoing like a distant heartbeat. Then the stone shifted, breaking apart into thousands of fragments that floated for a brief moment before vanishing into nothing. Beyond the door lay another passage, narrower and darker than before. A cold wind rushed out, carrying with it a strange scent of dust and metal. The chamber behind them fell silent, as if the tomb itself was holding its breath. The crew stared into the new passage. No one spoke. They knew there was no turning back. Raul finally broke the silence. "We proceed with caution. Lights ready. Weapons prepared. Arun, you will stay at the front. The tomb answers to you." Arun nodded, though his hands trembled slightly. He took a step forward into the new passage. The walls here were smooth and curved, like the inside of a machine. Strange markings glowed faintly, forming patterns that seemed alive. The crew followed closely. Every step echoed, and every sound seemed too loud. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy became. It pulsed through the walls, through the ground, even through their bodies. Arun felt it most of all, as if the energy was speaking to him in a language he could not fully understand. At last they reached another sealed door, smaller than the first but more complex. This one had layers of rotating rings, each covered in symbols. The aliens tried to move them, but the rings would not budge. Arun stepped forward again. He studied the rings, his eyes drawn to certain symbols. Without thinking, he placed his hands on the outer ring and pushed. To everyone's shock, it moved easily under his touch, turning with a low grinding sound. He continued, aligning the rings one by one. The symbols matched in a way that formed a larger pattern, a star with many points. As the last ring clicked into place, the door opened slowly with a deep groan. Beyond it lay a smaller chamber, circular in shape. In the center stood a pedestal of stone, and on it rested a crystal that pulsed with faint light. The glow reflected in their eyes, filling the chamber with an eerie beauty. The crew gasped in awe. "What is it?" someone whispered. Raul stepped closer but stopped when the glow grew stronger. The crystal pulsed faster when Arun entered the room, as if it recognized him. "This is the heart of the tomb," Raul said quietly. "It has been waiting. Not for us. For him." Arun stood before the pedestal, the light washing over him. He felt no fear now, only a strange sense of belonging. The crystal was not just an object. It was alive in some way, carrying a message that only he could hear. The silence in the chamber grew heavy as the truth settled on the crew. The tomb was not just sealed to protect what lay inside. It was sealed to wait for someone specific. And that someone was human. The crystal's glow faded back to a steady pulse as Arun stepped away from the pedestal. The chamber was silent again, but the weight of what they had seen hung heavy in the air. The aliens exchanged uncertain looks. None of their scanners could explain the crystal, yet it had reacted clearly to Arun. Ral's voice broke the silence. "We will move deeper. This is only the beginning. The builders of this tomb left paths beyond this chamber. If the crystal responds to the human, then the rest of the tomb may do the same." Arun nodded, though he did not fully understand why he was chosen. He looked once more at the glowing crystal. It seemed almost alive, as if watching him. He turned away and led the group to another opening at the far end of the chamber. The passage was narrow, forcing them to walk in a line. Their light swept across the walls, revealing countless carvings. Unlike the symbols near the entrance, these carvings told a story. The shapes were not words but images. Figures stood in rows, some tall and alien, others smaller and human-like. In every image, the humans were shown holding light while the taller beings stood in shadow. One of the aliens, a thin researcher with long arms, touched the carvings carefully. "This is strange. The smaller figures resemble your kind. But these carvings are ancient, far older than human civilization as we know it." Arun's hand lingered on the images. He felt a strange chill run through him. The humans carved here did not look weak or out of place. They looked like leaders, guiding others. The passage opened into another vast hall. This one was lined with towering statues on either side. Each statue stood twice as tall as a person and carried weapons carved from the same black stone. Their faces were stern, with hollow eyes that seemed to follow every movement. The explorers moved slowly, their footsteps echoing across the hall. Some of the crew avoided looking at the statues, afraid they might move. The silence was heavy, as if the hall itself was holding its breath. Suddenly, one of the statues gave off a faint glow in its chest. The crew froze. Another glow appeared in the next statue, then another. Arun felt the air thicken around him, charged with energy. "They are waking," someone whispered. The statues began to shift. Dust fell from their stone bodies as hidden mechanisms stirred to life. Their hollow eyes lit up with pale light. With a deep grinding sound, they stepped forward, blocking the path. Panic rippled through the crew. Weapons were drawn, but Ral's voice cut through the fear. "Do not fire yet. We do not know if they are hostile." The statues raised their weapons in unison. The answer was clear. The crew scattered as beams of energy shot across the hall. The air crackled with power, and the sound of blasts echoed like thunder. Arun ducked behind a pillar, his heart racing. He peered out to see the statues moving with surprising speed for their size. The crew returned fire, but their blasts bounced harmlessly off the stone bodies. Ral gave sharp commands, trying to keep the group together. "Aim for the joints. Slow them down." The crew obeyed, targeting the arms and legs of the statues. Some of the stone cracked, but the guardians kept advancing. One statue raised a weapon toward Arun. He braced himself, but the blast slowed before reaching him, fading into sparks that died against the floor. Arun stared in shock. The statue's weapon had lost its strength near him. He stepped forward cautiously, and the guardian's movements became sluggish, as if weighed down. "Arun," Ral shouted, noticing. "Stay near them. You weaken their power." Arun hesitated but then ran toward the others, drawing the attention of several statues. The guardians turned their weapons on him, but once again, their blasts lost strength before touching him. The crew used the chance to attack, striking at weakened joints until the statues collapsed into piles of stone. One by one, the guardians fell. The hall grew silent again, broken only by the heavy breathing of the crew. Dust hung in the air, glittering faintly in their lights. The crew gathered, shaken but alive. One alien looked at Arun with wide eyes. They could not harm you. The tomb protects you. Raal studied Arun carefully. His calm voice carried a weight of meaning. Not protects. Respects. These guardians were made to fight intruders. Yet they faltered before you. The builders of this tomb left their mark in your bloodline. Arun tried to protest, but he could not deny what they had seen. His presence had changed the battle. Without him, they might not have survived. They moved onward, stepping past the broken remains of the guardians. At the end of the hall stood another door, carved with even more complex patterns. Unlike the first seal, this one was already open, as if the fall of the guardians had unlocked it. Beyond the door stretched a long corridor lined with glowing crystals. The air here was different, lighter but filled with a strange hum. The crystals pulsed with faint rhythm, almost like a song. Arun felt it resonate inside him, steady and calm. The corridor led them into a circular room. At its center was a massive wall covered in writing. Unlike the carvings before, these symbols glowed brightly, shifting slowly like living light. The researchers approached with excitement, trying to record every detail. Yet their translation devices failed again. The symbols refused to be read by machines. Arun stepped closer, and the symbols changed. They rearranged themselves into shapes he could almost understand. They were not full words, but fragments of meaning. Phrases like chosen, memory, and return. He spoke the words aloud without realizing it. The wall responded with a brighter glow, sending waves of light across the chamber. The crew shielded their eyes, stunned. When the glow faded, the wall revealed an image. It showed a vast civilization of towering cities and fleets of ships. Among them walked humans, standing beside other species, holding symbols of light. The vision was brief but powerful, then vanished back into symbols. The chamber fell silent again. No one knew what to say. Finally, Raal spoke. This is no tomb for the dead. It is a monument of warning and memory. And it has chosen you to see it. Arun's mind swirled with questions. Who built this place? Why did they leave humans at the center of their story? And why now, after countless ages, did the tomb open for him? As the crew rested in the chamber, one thing became clear. The tomb was not just a place of stone and shadow. It was alive with history, and it had been waiting for someone like Arun to awaken it. The path ahead was still unknown, but the darkness no longer felt empty. It felt alive, and it was watching. The chamber of shifting symbols grew quiet once more. The glowing wall dimmed, leaving only faint lines of light crawling like rivers across its surface. The explorers stood still, their minds full of questions they could not answer. Arun's breathing slowed as he stepped back from the wall. The images of ancient cities and fleets still burned in his thoughts. He could not shake the feeling that what he saw was not only history but also a warning. Raal studied him with steady eyes. The tomb continues to reveal itself only through you. Whatever force built this place, it trusted your kind to awaken it. That is no accident. The others whispered among themselves, some full of wonder, others full of doubt. A few looked at Arun with respect, while others seemed uneasy. Before anyone could speak further, the floor beneath them gave a deep rumble. Dust shook loose from the ceiling, drifting like falling ash. The glow on the walls grew brighter, spreading across the chamber. The ground split open at the far side of the room. From the darkness below, something rose. At first it looked like more statues, but the air around them pulsed with power. One by one, towering figures emerged. Their bodies were made of black stone, but lines of light ran through them like veins. Their heads turned, hollow eyes glowing with pale fire. The guardians had awakened. The crew drew their weapons in panic. The sound of charging energy filled the chamber as the guardians stepped forward, their heavy movements shaking the floor. They carried long blades of glowing metal, and their deep hum filled the air with dread. Rahl lifted his hand. "Hold your fire until we understand their purpose." But the guardians did not wait. The nearest one raised its weapon and brought it down, the blade cutting across the stone floor in a burst of sparks. The explorers scattered as the room filled with chaos. Arun stumbled back, his heart racing. He remembered the first hall, how the guardian's power had weakened around him. He forced himself forward, though fear pressed against his chest. As he moved closer, the nearest guardian slowed. Its glowing blade flickered as if struggling to stay solid. "Arun," Rahl shouted. "Stay near them. You are their weakness." Arun clenched his fists and ran. Another guardian swung its blade, but the weapon faded into mist before striking him. The giant staggered, its movements heavy and unsteady. The others saw their chance. They aimed at the weakened guardian's joints, firing until cracks spread across its stone body. With the final strike, the guardian collapsed, shattering into fragments. The battle turned into a desperate rhythm. Arun moved close, drawing the guardian's attention. Each time he neared them, their power faltered. The crew followed behind, striking at the weakened giants until they fell. Yet for every guardian that broke, another rose from the ground, climbing out of the cracks as if the tomb held an endless army. The air grew thick with dust and light. The sound of stone shattering mixed with the deep hum of the guardians. The explorers fought bravely, but sweat and exhaustion began to wear them down. Arun felt the pressure more than anyone. His body ached, his legs heavy, yet he forced himself forward again and again. Without him, the crew could not keep up. He knew this, and so did the guardians. More and more of them turned their glowing eyes toward him, focusing their strikes. One guardian raised its weapon high, bringing it down in a strike that shook the chamber. Arun barely leapt aside, rolling across the stone floor. He gasped for breath, but before the guardian could rise again, Rahl fired a precise shot at its knee joint, breaking it apart. The giant fell, its weapon clattering into dust. "Stay on your feet, human," Rahl called. "You are the key. If you fall, we all fall." Arun forced himself up. The fear in him had not left, but something else had grown stronger. A sense of responsibility filled his chest. The tomb had chosen him, whether he understood why or not. If he turned away now, the entire crew would be lost. He pressed forward again, weaving through the guardians' heavy swings. The crew followed, their attacks sharper and faster now that they knew the rhythm of battle. Bit by bit, they forced the guardians back. Finally, after what felt like hours, the last guardian collapsed with a heavy crash. The chamber went still. Only the sound of their heavy breathing remained. Dust settled slowly, covering the broken stone bodies. The glowing veins within the guardians faded into nothing. For now, the tomb was quiet again. The explorers gathered, their clothes marked with ash and sweat. Some looked at Arun with relief, others with awe. The thin researcher who had studied the carvings spoke softly. They were meant to guard something. Not treasure, but knowledge. And yet they could not stop him. The tomb itself bends around him. Rahl nodded, his silver skin catching the dim light. "This is no accident. Arun, you must understand. You are not only exploring this place. You are unlocking it. Without you, it would remain sealed forever." Arun swallowed hard. His body was sore, his mind overwhelmed. He looked at the broken guardians and then at the glowing walls around them. "But why me? I am only human. I don't know why this place listens to me." No one could answer. The silence pressed heavy until the walls stirred again. Lines of light spread outward, forming a doorway on the far side of the chamber. It was not sealed, not locked, but waiting open as if inviting them forward. The crew stared at the doorway. Beyond it, faint light flickered, as if something greater lay ahead. Rahl spoke at last. The Guardians were not here to kill us. They were here to test us. And through you, we passed. Whatever waits ahead is meant for you to see. The crew moved cautiously toward the doorway, their steps slow and wary. Arun walked at the front, the strange pull inside him stronger than ever. He felt the tomb watching, guiding, even judging. As they crossed the threshold, the chamber behind them sealed shut. The sound of grinding stone echoed, cutting off the path they had come from. There was no return now. The new corridor stretched forward, lit by faint lines of glowing crystal. The air was still and heavy, but the hum of energy was stronger. Arun felt it in his chest, steady and deep, like the heartbeat of the tomb itself. Whatever lay ahead, it was not just another test. It was the heart of the secret they had come to find. Arun tightened his grip on his light and kept walking. The new corridor stretched forward like a tunnel into eternity. The walls were smooth, carved with perfect lines that pulsed faintly with light. Every step echoed, and the sound rolled through the passage like a wave. The crew moved in silence, each of them aware that they were nearing something important. Arun led the way once more. He did not speak, but his chest carried a strange weight. The pull inside him had grown stronger with every step, guiding him as if an invisible hand pushed him forward. He did not know if it was trust or fate, but he could not stop walking. The corridor ended in a great door unlike any they had seen before. It was vast, curving upward into the ceiling, carved with thousands of symbols. The symbols shifted slowly, moving like water. No machine could read them, no translator could catch their meaning. They were alive, always changing. Rahl stepped forward and studied the door carefully. His silver eyes reflected the light. This is the final barrier. The energy behind it is stronger than anything we have measured. Beyond this door lies the heart of the tomb. The other crew members looked uneasy. Some gripped their weapons tightly, others avoided meeting Arun's eyes. None of them doubted now that the door would open only for him. Arun approached slowly. His hand trembled as he reached out to the symbols. The moment his skin touched the surface, the shifting patterns froze. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming a spiral of light that spread outward. The door groaned deeply and then began to split apart, opening slowly with a sound that shook the air. A rush of cold wind poured out, carrying the scent of dust and metal untouched for ages. The crew raised their lights, but even before the beams reached inside, the chamber beyond lit up on its own. The core chamber revealed itself in breathtaking scale. The ceiling arched so high it disappeared into darkness. The floor was smooth and circular, marked with glowing lines that formed a star pattern stretching across the entire room. At the center of the star stood a pedestal, much larger than the one that had held the first crystal. On that pedestal rested a black crystal of immense size, taller than a person. Its surface was smooth, but within it swirled faint light, as if storms of energy were trapped inside. The crystal pulsed with slow rhythm, the same heartbeat-like sound they had heard since entering the tomb. The crew gasped in awe. Some whispered prayers in their own languages. Even Rahl's calm face tightened with the weight of what they were seeing. "This is it," Rahl said softly. "The source of the energy. The reason this tomb was built." They approached carefully, each step cautious. The closer they came, the stronger the energy became. It pressed against their bodies, heavy but not crushing, like standing in the presence of something far greater than themselves. Arun stepped onto the star pattern. At once, the lines of light brightened, spreading outward from his feet. The entire chamber came alive. The walls glowed, the air hummed, and the black crystal pulsed faster. The crew froze in shock. Arun alone felt calm. The pull inside him was no longer a whisper but a steady voice. It did not speak in words, but in feeling. The crystal was aware of him. It had been waiting. He placed his hands on the pedestal. The crystal's glow surged, filling the chamber with light. Images filled his mind in a rush so fast he gasped for breath. He saw vast fleets of ships sailing through the stars, cities of impossible size, and beings of countless shapes. He saw war that stretched across galaxies, a war fought against something that was never fully shown. Among all of it, he saw humans. They were not weak, not lost. They stood at the center, carrying light while others followed. They were leaders, builders, and protectors. The crystal showed him a time when humans had not been confined to Earth, but had once walked among the stars before history had been lost. The vision ended with fire. A great collapse. The knowledge of humans scattered and hidden. The crystal was sealed away, waiting for the day when humans would return to claim what was theirs. Arun staggered back, his chest rising and falling quickly. The glow faded to its steady pulse. He looked at the crew, their faces pale with shock. This place, it was made to hold something for us. Not for anyone else. The thin researcher shook his head, his voice trembling. Impossible. Humans were never here before. Your species only just reached the stars. And yet this tomb says otherwise. Ral's voice cut through the confusion, calm but firm. The tomb does not lie. The guardians, the carvings, the symbols, all of it points to one truth. Humans were part of something greater long ago. And this crystal is their inheritance. The crew fell into silence, struggling to grasp the weight of what they had seen. Arun turned back to the crystal. He felt its steady pulse deep in his chest. It was not only a memory. It was a gift. Knowledge, power, or perhaps a responsibility. The tomb had been sealed not only to protect the galaxy, but to wait for the right moment when a human would come again. One of the aliens stepped forward nervously. Should we take it? Perhaps we can study it. The crystal flared at those words, sending a wave of light that pushed everyone back. Arun alone remained steady. The message was clear. It would not allow itself to be taken by anyone else. Ral steadied himself and spoke slowly. This is not ours. It belongs to him. Only he can decide. The weight of those words fell heavily on Arun. He looked at the black crystal, its swirling light reflecting in his eyes. He did not know what it wanted him to do. Keep it? Destroy it? Unlock its power? Whatever choice he made would not affect him alone. It would affect the entire galaxy. The chamber grew quiet again. Only the steady hum of the crystal filled the silence, like a voice waiting for an answer. Arun clenched his fists. His life had been ordinary until now, but this tomb had changed everything. He was no longer just an explorer from a young species. He was the chosen heir of a legacy hidden in darkness. He stepped closer to the crystal once more. The glow rose to meet him, waiting. The choice was his. The core chamber remained still, but the air carried a heavy energy, as if the walls themselves waited for what would happen next. The black crystal pulsed steadily, light moving inside it like a storm trapped within glass. The crew stood at the edges of the glowing star pattern, uncertain and afraid to move closer. Only Arun stood near the pedestal, the crystal's light reflecting in his eyes. Every heartbeat felt louder than the last. The crystal's rhythm had aligned with his own, and Arun felt as though they were one. He could sense that it was waiting for his answer, though he did not yet understand the question. The silence broke when one of the crew members whispered, "What do we do now?" His voice was small, almost drowned by the hum of the chamber. Ral stepped forward. His silver eyes fixed on Arun. The crystal has chosen you. The rest of us cannot touch it, cannot command it. It responds only to your presence. The question is, what will you do with it? Arun swallowed hard. He felt the weight of everyone's eyes. He had never asked for this, had never wanted to be more than an explorer, searching ruins and learning about forgotten civilizations. Yet now, he stood in a place built to hold a secret older than his world itself. He placed one hand on the pedestal. The light swelled again, and visions struck his mind. He saw the same fleets, the same cities, the same war. But now the images were clearer. He saw humans standing at the front of vast armies, carrying weapons that glowed with the same energy as the crystal. He saw them shaping worlds, guiding others, bringing hope. Then he saw the end of fire, the collapse, the scattering of knowledge. The crystal showed him why it had been sealed away. The power within it was too great, and those who misused it had brought destruction. To protect what remained, the builders had locked it deep inside the tomb, waiting for the right human to return. The vision faded, and Arun pulled his hand back, breathing heavily. His knees felt weak, but he steadied himself. He now understood the choice. The crystal could awaken. It could release its knowledge, perhaps even its power, into him. But if he was not ready, if he failed, it could consume him and everything around him. The crew waited anxiously. Some looked at him with fear, others with hope. None of them spoke. Finally, Arun found his voice. This crystal is not just a relic. It is alive. It carries memories, knowledge, and energy. It is waiting for me to decide if I am worthy to unlock it. Then do it, one of the crew said quickly. Take the power. Use it. With something like this, no enemy could stand against us. Arun shook his head. It is not that simple. This is not a weapon for conquest. It is a responsibility. If I use it wrongly, it will bring destruction again. Ral's expression softened slightly. You understand more than most would. That is why it has chosen you. But the decision must still be made. Will you carry the burden, or will you leave it sealed? Arun closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about Earth, about his people. They were young compared to the other species of the galaxy. Many considered humans fragile, untested, unimportant. And yet, here he stood, in a tomb built long before their current history, holding proof that humanity had once been far greater than anyone imagined. He thought about his parents, who had worked hard to give him an ordinary life. He thought about the explorers who had risked everything to uncover the truth of ancient civilizations. And he thought about the faces of his crew, aliens and humans alike, who now looked to him for an answer. His eyes opened again, filled with quiet determination. If this crystal was meant for humans, then it is not my place to hide from it. I will accept it. But I will not use it for destruction. I will use it to guide, to protect, to bring light where there is only darkness. The words felt heavy but true. As soon as he spoke them, the crystal responded. The pulsing light quickened, filling the chamber with brilliance. The star pattern on the floor blazed like fire, and the crew shielded their eyes. Arun stepped forward and placed both hands on the crystal. This time, he did not resist the visions. He let them flow through him. Knowledge poured into his mind like a river, endless and overwhelming. He saw languages, sciences, and maps of stars long forgotten. He felt the strength of civilizations that had once trusted humans to lead them. Pain shot through his body, sharp and powerful, but he did not let go. His breath came heavy, his heart thundered, but he held on. He whispered to himself, I will not fail. The light wrapped around him like a cocoon, lifting him slightly off the ground. The crystal storm swirled faster, reaching its peak. Then, suddenly, it calmed. The glow softened, the chamber steadied, and Arun lowered gently back to the pedestal. When the light faded, Arun opened his eyes. They glowed faintly with the same energy as the crystal. He felt changed, though not broken. His body was the same, but his mind carried more than it ever had before. The crew stared in awe. None dared to speak. Arun turned to them, his voice steady though quiet. The crystal has shared its knowledge. I know things now about the stars, about the past, about dangers yet to come. It is not just a relic. It is a guide. And it has given me a purpose. One of the researchers stepped forward cautiously. What purpose? Arun looked back at the crystal, then at the crew. His gaze was calm but firm. To remind the galaxy of what humans once were and to prepare for what is coming. The war that destroyed the old civilizations is not gone. It is only waiting. And when it returns, humanity must be ready to stand again. The words filled the chamber with a weight greater than silence. For a moment, no one moved, no one breathed. Then Rahl gave a slow nod. So it begins. The tomb has chosen its messenger, and we are witnesses. The crystal pulsed once more, softer now, as if satisfied. Arun could feel it still connected to him, a quiet presence in the back of his mind. It would not leave him, not until his task was done. The chamber dimmed again, leaving only the steady glow of the star pattern beneath their feet. The moment of choice had passed. Arun had accepted his role, and the tomb had given its answer. But deep inside, he knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. The tomb was quiet after the storm of light. The air still carried a faint hum from the crystal, but it was no longer restless. Arun stood in the center, feeling the pulse of knowledge still alive inside him. His body felt normal, but his mind carried the weight of memories from civilizations older than stars. It was not a burden of despair, it was a calling. The crew slowly stepped forward, their eyes fixed on him. None of them spoke at first, uncertain how to address the change they had witnessed. It was not just light that had filled Arun, but a sense of purpose, as if the crystal had reshaped his soul. Rahl, the alien guardian who had followed them since the journey began, broke the silence. The tomb was not meant to stay sealed forever. It was waiting for this moment. For you. Arun nodded. It was waiting for humanity. I am only the messenger. The crystal does not belong to me. It belongs to all of us, to guide us forward. The crew exchanged looks. Some seemed relieved, others still unsettled. They had entered the tomb searching for relics, but they had found something far greater, something that could alter the fate of the galaxy. Arun stepped away from the pedestal. As he moved, the glowing star pattern on the floor dimmed slowly, as if the chamber itself recognized that its task was complete. The great machine had delivered its gift, and now it returned to its slumber. They walked back through the long corridors of the tomb. Where shadows had once pressed close, the walls now seemed less heavy. The oppressive silence had lifted, leaving behind only stillness. The tomb no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a place of rest, satisfied that its guardian had been found. Outside, the barren surface stretched endlessly. The pale sky looked almost alive after the suffocating dark below. The crew gathered near the entrance, speaking quietly among themselves. But their eyes kept returning to Arun, who stood at the edge of the hill, looking out at the horizon. He could feel the stars calling to him. The knowledge inside his mind whispered of hidden worlds, of dangers buried beyond sight, of forces waiting in the dark. It was more than any single human could hold, yet the crystal had chosen him, and so he carried it. One of the crew finally asked the question on everyone's mind. What now? Arun turned back to them, his voice steady. We return home. We share what we have found. Humanity must know the truth that we were not always as we are now, that once we carried a role in the galaxy greater than anyone remembers. And that role may come again. Rahl nodded in agreement. The galaxy has forgotten the place of your kind. Many see humans as fragile, untested. But the tomb has spoken. It remembers, and now, through you, so will they. The journey back to their ship felt different than the descent into the tomb. Before, they had carried curiosity and fear. Now, they carried purpose. The dust of the world no longer seemed like the dust of death, but the soil of beginnings. When they entered orbit, the planet below looked smaller than it had before, like a secret that had given up its last mystery. Arun stood at the viewport, silent, watching the world shrink into the dark. He did not feel pride or triumph. Instead, he felt resolve. The ship moved through the stars, engine steady, crew restless but thoughtful. In the mess hall, whispers spread about what the discovery meant. Some spoke of power, of how the crystal's knowledge could make humanity stronger than any rival. Others spoke of responsibility, of how dangerous it might be to awaken what had been sealed for so long. Arun listened but said little. He knew both views carried truth. Power without wisdom would lead only to ruin, but silence would leave humanity unprepared for the storm that was coming. He had seen glimpses of it in the vision's shadows moving between galaxies, a darkness that had once brought destruction and could return again. When they reached the nearest colony, word spread quickly. A relic older than recorded history had been uncovered, and a human had been chosen as its bearer. Many doubted. Many demanded proof. Yet when Arun spoke, his voice carried weight beyond his own. He did not command with power, but with certainty. The tomb was not a prison, he told them. It was a promise. Humanity is not a mistake of chance. We were meant to stand when others fall, to bring light when there is only dark. We must not see ourselves as weak or unworthy. The tomb believed in us. Now we must believe in ourselves. His words spread across colonies and home worlds, carried by those who had seen the tomb with their own eyes. Some resisted, unwilling to accept such a burden. Others embraced it, inspired by the idea that humanity had a destiny greater than survival. Weeks turned into months, and Arun continued his work. He traveled from world to world, speaking not as a conqueror but as a guide. The knowledge within him grew, not as a weight but as a flame, passed carefully to others. He taught scientists new ways to shape energy, explorers new paths among the stars, and leaders new ways to see beyond conflict. The crystal remained with him, always glowing faintly at his side. It no longer pulsed with restlessness but with calm, as if it too waited for the right time. Arun knew that one day the true test would come. The shadows he had seen would rise again, and when they did, humanity would need to stand ready. One night, as he stood beneath the stars of a quiet colony, Raul joined him. The alien's silver eyes reflected the sky. "Do you believe they will be ready?" Arun did not answer at once. He looked at the stars, at the countless points of light that marked both hope and danger. Then he said softly, "They will be. Because they must be." The stars seemed to shine brighter in that moment, as if listening. The tomb lay silent now, far behind them, sealed once more in its world of dust and stone. But its gift was no longer locked away. It lived within Arun, and through him, within all of humanity. The darkness would come, as it always had. But this time, the galaxy would not face it alone. This time, humanity would rise.